Hello everyone. Recently we've been working on two things that kind of go well together. One is our Hikite, the pulling hand. A lot of times when we're throwing techniques, we're focused on the one that's out front doing attacks or blocks or whatever is happening, and we forget about the backhand. But the backhand, the pulling hand, is also doing something. It's also important. So if we're punching, instead of just focusing on a good punch with the punching hand and forgetting about the backhand, we want to push and pull okay. There's a lot of different reasons why we want to get that backhand back. We can be grabbing someone and stretching out their arm. Lots of different interpretations, lots of things. But the important thing is the pulling hand is just as important. It sets up the structure, gets our muscles tensed up to support the punch or whatever we're throwing out. The pulling hand is also important. So whenever you're doing a kata and you're reaching out to do something crazy, no floating floppy hands. This one can be super strong, but if this one is no good, the whole thing is not as good as it could be. Okay, pay attention to both hands. This one is easy to pay attention to because it's out there doing things, which for me means I have to tell my brain to make sure I pay attention to the one that's not as obvious. Okay, I don't have to pay attention as much to the obvious one because I'm already paying attention to it. It's the one that's not obvious that I have to force myself to remember. Okay, and then with that, we want to use our hips for our different blocks, parries, strikes. It's not just the hand that's doing things. It's my whole body, it's my core that's driving things. So if I'm doing a low strike over here, it's not just my hand reaching down as strong as it can, even with the Hikite. This is just arms. Okay, I want to drive it with my core. So when I turn, I'm turning my hips, my arm is relaxed and launched out like a whip. A whip works because it's floppy and flexible. It goes wham and then snaps at the end. If the whip string was a cable, it wouldn't whip. It needs to be soft. Okay, so think of your arm as a whip and think of the core as the driver. So I'm just going to take our first three kata and do the first four moves a few times. This is a good drill to emphasize the hips. And as long as we're doing it, we might as well also remember that Hikite. So from the first kata, if you know it or even if you don't, okay, feel free to practice along. Low strike, step and punch. I'm going to turn to my left, which is over there. It might look different on your computer screen. We're going to do both sides, so it doesn't really matter. I'm going to my left. Ready? 1, 2, other side, 3, 4. Again, first side. 1, 2, 3, 4. I'm going to exaggerate a little bit, which is not a bad thing to practice. Just realize that I'm exaggerating. I'm going to reach out with my other hand so that it can become the Hikite, even though in the kata, it's normally staying on my hip until it's being used. Once again, 1, 2, 3, 4. 1, 2, 3, 4. And back. The second kata, high strike, palm strike, same idea, but since I'm striking or blocking, we call them strikes. Since I'm going up high, I like to wind up down low, but again, it's my hips driving it out, and if my other hand is out, my hand comes back strong with a Hikite move. technically knee down, high strike, palm strike. 1, 2, 3, 4, 1, 2, 3, 4. Moving forward here. One more time. 1, 2, 3, 4. And back. And the third one is our cat stance, inside to outside strike, like you're opening a door, stepping into a punch. Same thing, but it's a cat stance. So I'm not going into a front stance at the person. I'm holding myself back in my cat stance. But I'm still trying to use my hips. 1, 2, 3, 4. 1, 2, 3, 4. 1, 2, 3, 4. One last time. 1, 2, 3, 4. And back. You can do that with all of our strikes, all of our blocks, everything. Try to use your hips. I teach this the way I think of a back leg roundhouse kick. If I'm doing a crazy back leg roundhouse kick, wham! Lots of extra stuff going on there. It would never work in a fight. If you ever see someone go like this, hit them, run, do whatever you want to do. Not a good way to do a roundhouse kick, but it does throw in a lot of power that will probably never ever hit a person. Okay, but if I want to feel all the muscles that could be helping, that lets me know which muscles are involved in the push, and then for my roundhouse kick, I try to tighten it up without all the extra stuff, but retain as much of that help as I can. It won't be as strong as this. It'll be 10% weaker, but 50% faster and generally better, okay? Same thing with our hips. Wind up and really go crazy, almost so that you're off balance, so that you went a little too far, so that you can find out where the limit is. If you only do it where you can do it, it's hard to develop that. If you go a little crazy and say, ooh, that felt strong, but a little out of control. See how close you can come, so that when you don't wind up, you can still tap into some of that power. Okay, so explore, but realize if someone was punching or kicking you, you wouldn't go like this and expect to block it or counter strike or whatever. Okay, so practice the exaggerated version, understanding that it's exaggerated, but you're trying to feel everything going on, and then tighten it up, dial it in, and try to have a good strike without all the extra stuff. Okay, so play with that, work on that, and one comment, you can do a good strike without being loud. You can do a loud strike without being good. Okay, but generally, a strike done properly, if you're wearing your uniform, makes some noise as you lock everything in. Relax, 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 lock it all in, and you will hear a noise. Just because you hear a noise doesn't mean it's good, but proper strikes generally, you get that snap, you get that pow, okay? But we're not trying to make noise, that's not what we're doing, but it is an indication that maybe you're doing it properly. You should feel whether you feel supported and strong, okay? Play with that.